Thank you for joining us, Rob. And maybe you can kind of give a bit of a background on who you are and where you're at and all of the good stuff.
Sure. Well, my name's Rob. I am in the process of starting up a new education technology company that is an offshoot from the instructional design learning consulting practice that I have. And I came to those both through the Institute for Performance and Learning, which we're also a part of, and many years of various different instructional experiences and background in front of the classroom, teaching martial arts, doing all kinds of fun stuff where I'm trying to get people to do something a certain way or understand something or write an essay or a term paper or an exam or whatever that might be, both in a workplace setting as well as an academic setting. And the way I thought of that really changed after I finished my graduate degree in the neuroscience of learning, where I got to torture rats in very creative ways, probing different aspects of how the brain learns. And so I have very strong views on the way that we can support, maximize, augment the processes around how we educate people, how we prepare them to do stuff, whatever that might be in general.
One of the big questions that comes up with all of our students is looking at the curriculum, it's all and well, but how does it really apply to the post-pandemic world that we're hopefully getting into quite quickly? How can students expect that the transformation of digital will affect them, and what do you think are going to be the highlights of what they need to expect?
Well, this is something that I'm very much in the process of learning myself, I guess, along with the students. A couple of the trends that I've seen around the way that information is delivered from both a marketing sense and an educational sense online is just, I would say, an acceleration of the trends that were there before COVID was even a word that was in everyone's vocabulary, right? So social media advertising, articles and posts that look like they're just informational but are actually advertising, hidden advertising. Constant bombardment of people trying to get a hold of you. Many people who are in some sort of consulting capacity, offering services to help provide value to businesses of all size, individuals who they've tracked down on LinkedIn or on other social platforms. Really just a pervasive, constant drumbeat of think this, believe this, understand this, buy this, pay attention to this. But just this pervasive, constant, very not aggressive, but persistent and assertive marketplace for people's attention. That is just constantly trying to pull people in one direction or another, limiting our time to think before we make decisions. While we're all fighting for that, and many of us, I would say, filtering out 99% or more of the information that comes flying at us through all of these different channels. And as we spend more and more of our time online in so-called virtual environments, and content is enhanced or contributed to or created by different bots, chat bots, AI, AI generated content. There's all kinds of tools that I'm finding out about now in the marketing world where you will get 5 or 6 messages deep in a conversation and not realize you're talking to a bot. And I don't mean the little thing that pops up at the bottom right of every single web page that says, "Hey, do you have any questions?" And it never has any answers. I mean, like tools that are running on AIs that are literally starting and driving and channeling people into different conversations. It's a powerful trend that I think we're only at the beginning of. Now, if I just try to break down the term, omni-channel means every channel, and of course nobody watches channels on TV anymore, right? It's all various streaming services and YouTube and stuff like that. We got rid of cable a couple of years ago. I mean every channel through which you consume information, and that includes in the meat space of billboards and realtor advertisements on park benches and stuff like that. That becoming digitized. So I don't know if this is part of the story, but for example, now if you go to a restaurant, which we until recently were still able to do in Alberta, we were a little looser with our restrictions than you guys out there. Everything is these QR codes to get your menu, right? The digital menu is a new thing. And tie that into AR that is going to recognize products that you can scan with your phone. I love that trend. I love the idea that we can do all kinds of neat stuff with AR. And I never played the Pokemon game, but I think that one's a great example of pervasive AR and information from the real world being sucked into the digital world, processed, and then spat back out again. Digital transformation is one of those ones that everybody's doing it, man. I know so many people that are offering consulting services to, or attempting to major corporations for digital transformation. And many of them are offering services that are completely unrecognizable one from the other. So it means a lot of different things. Digital transformation means the transformation of experiences, processes, both business and otherwise, from a analog space to a digital space.
So we talk about the avenues of transformation. We talk about where we're going. I guess the big question is in the process of all the stuff we're doing, are we changing consumer buying behavior, or are we just confusing the consumer because there are so many things happening around them that they really get confused and they decide not to purchase? Do you think we're influencing them or getting them more confused?
It's something I think about a lot because I don't have a damn clue what consumer buying behavior is. If it was, then I would have, then my business would be a lot further along. But I'll say this, buying behavior, the digital transformation of the marketing and sales information that leads to buying behavior is just an extension of what we've been doing since we were cave people and we were buying stuff with shiny rocks. And I just had a conversation with this, literally the one I was rambling on before I came into this conversation late. The sales decision, the purchase decision is an emotional decision, and we justify it based on rational facts and data after the fact. I don't think that's changed. I think the way that we then pick up on the sale, the rational stuff and do that analysis, that may have changed. The amount of information we have access to is vastly higher, but the way we process it maybe cognitively is different. So the big difference is, the example everyone likes to go by is we used to remember a few hundred phone numbers. I can tell you I probably remember, maybe 5. They're the people that are favored on my phone anyway because they're family, right? We just don't remember information anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, we do, but to a lesser extent, and we're far less dependent on rote learning because we're all cyborgs now with these phones in our pockets, and that trend's just going to keep going. So why the hell would I try to remember, how, like, let's say I'm buying a car, right? Oh, well, I'm comparing it to this one, and that one has 363 horsepower, and yours only has 362. Mr. Salesman, justify that to me. Like, salesman doesn't care. The other thing is the imbalance in information. You hear about this a lot, especially in car sales, interestingly enough. The customer generally has an information advantage over the salesperson, which is flipped from the way it used to be. So the conversation in a sales situation is less about educating the consumer and more about validating them making them feel good about their knowledge and making them feel like they've done sufficient research to make the decision that they've already come to you to validate and justify, right? And I mean, at least that's what I've heard. I don't know. I'm probably an atypical car shopper in that I'm famous for taking my wife for test drive dates. Not anymore with COVID, but we just love to go in and let's check out the new BMW, whatever. Hey, I'm checking it out, and then you just ignore the salesman's emails after that. But it's really fun to go drive different cars. Like, it's an experience. And I'll test drive all kinds of stuff, software, travel, whatever that might be, to the extent that you have capacity to do that. And that's maybe another shift. Maybe that's a digital shift. We can test so much more stuff now because so much of the things that we're consuming are digital. Download it, get a free trial. Our product has a free trial. Just about anything that you can buy, digital tool that you can buy, has a free trial period and then a subscription model, as opposed to in the physical world. Well, I'm going to buy this cool owl coffee cup, which you can't see because of my digital background. I can't return. What am I going to do? Return it? Drive back to the store? Put it back in the mail? Such a pain in the butt. With digital products, it's there. Delete it. Whatever. Send a mean email. Write a comment. That aspect of things has certainly changed. How we consume information about the world has changed in the sense that we've got so much more of it that we're trying to consume, and never enough time to do it all. So the way that we triage information is maybe a big factor in terms of omni-channel digital transformation. And I guess the question would be then, how much of the attentional decision, right, that marketplace for attention, how much of that triage game that we're playing is channel-based as opposed to specific information based, as opposed to based on the source of that information? Do I trust this person? Do I even bother reading the news anymore? Do I go to Twitter or Facebook or whatever? There's so many different channels now. We always have this idea of back in the 50s, well, you got one newspaper and you put your feet up and you had your beer or your coffee and you sat there and you read the newspaper for 2 hours on a Sunday morning. Right?
Last question is, our students in this course experience the omnichannel environment by creating their own storefront. Based on the fact that many students are doing it for the first time, what advice would you provide to them when they're conceptualizing their storefront? What are some of the must-haves in today's environment that come top to mind?
People talk about UX and user experience design, and I have to admit that it's not something that I understand very well, but I do know that that's an area that's really important when you're thinking about a storefront. The ability for people to feel like they're not being led around by the nose to make a decision. Mm-hmm. I feel I get that sense, at least when I'm digitally shopping. It's like, why can't I zoom in on this? Why can't I compare these things side by side? Why do I have to select 3 products to compare? I want to compare 5. Maybe I'm just at that cusp age-wise where I'm quite comfortable in the digital world. I'm young enough to do that, but I'm old-fashioned enough to say that I would much rather go shop for just about anything in the real world. I'd rather go to Walmart and shop for just about anything that they have there than Amazon or even a well-built online storefront, because I can pick it up and look at it and zoom in as much as I want. I can compare as many things as I want. I can try stuff on. And so I think that the degree to which you can approximate that in a digital environment makes the user feel like they have more freedom, more choice, more agency in the matter, right? And I would say that maybe that's a trend to look at when it comes to omni-channel digital transformation, is we don't necessarily have the ability to put our finger on it very well, but we're very good at sensing when we're either being deprived of agency or being given the illusion of agency, right? You're asking me to make a decision. Let me make the damn decision. Don't, make it for me and be like, oh, you wanted this. Or what drives me nuts is when, like Microsoft Word is like, here, I'm going to help you reformat it. No, that's not what I wanted to do. No, but the suggestions, maybe in a few years we'll get there to where the suggestions that a lot of these digital tools give us are based on a better understanding of our intentions. But I think we're still a long way away from that yet. So if I go into a digital storefront and I've got an intention, the system that's being built needs to really try to spend more time figuring out what my intention is before trying to show me the shopping cart. Maybe I am window shopping. Maybe I'm just trying to find out more information about your product. And I go to your website and I've got, it's a landing page. I've got 3 options, or I've got no options. Buy now, go to the next stage. And I've just been going through this on our marketing stuff. Oh, build more landing pages. Oh, they can't get to any more information until they give you their email address, right? And I'm sure that I'm not the only person that goes to those pages and goes, I'm not here to buy your thing. I'm here to learn more about what the hell it is, because I'm confused. And so we are trying to negotiate that fine line between providing people with information and getting them to give us some damn money, because that's what the whole point of the thing is, right? And it's the way to do that, and I don't know exactly how to do it from a technical sense, because that's not my forte, but the way to do that is to ask questions and find out what it is that people's intentions are and what they want, what they're interested in, and learn more about them. And then ideally, I would say, have more of a field of options, more of a choose your own adventure novel type of approach to consuming information, right? I mean, take Twitter, for example, taking it out of the buying space, the purchasing space. Take Twitter, for example. It's got a very structured approach. You're scrolling down, and all these other things are kind of similar to Facebook, whatever. You're scrolling down and you're looking information, and it's just like, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. You were talking about, that scroll stopper phenomenon. Sorry, that was somebody else I was talking to. How do you get people to stop scrolling, get their attention? And then take them from that moment of, oh, I'm interested for a nanosecond, to walk them down the path to, I want to buy whatever it is, or I want to give you some information so that you can put me on your mailing list, or send me a link to your blog, or whatever it is. How do we get people to make that decision themselves, as opposed to, I don't know if you've ever seen like cattle pens and they're just being herded in one clear direction, and so when people are setting up their storefronts, it's like, okay, so your storefront is there to what? What's the purpose of it? Is it to get people to buy this pair of shoes, or to enable them to search through all the pairs of shoes that you're offering to pick the ones that's best for them? How are they going to know that? They're going to look at a picture of it. What information do you need to give them? I buy a lot of construction materials, and furniture and that kind of stuff. I mean, it should not be hard for me to find out what the dimensions of it are. Figure out what the intention is of that buying process. If you're buying something that's got to fit somewhere, right? Whether it's furniture, it's construction stuff, or it's decorations for your house, home decor, bookshelf, something like that. Front and center, I want to know how big the thing is. If it's got the dimensions on the drawing, or if it's at least got it down in the text below, like that should not be 5 clicks for me to find that out. Why? Clearly the intention is for me to put that somewhere, right? Shoe size, clothing size. Who does this fit? If people are thinking about stylistic decisions, what kind of person is this targeted to? So maybe the answer is bring your customer avatar into the buying process. And one thing that we're looking at changing on our website now is telling people who we're marketing to. Hey, we are marketing this at chief operating officers from industrial businesses that are mid-size. That means they've got this many employees, they do this much in revenue. We're looking for people who are in this age group and have these set of beliefs about the opportunities to improve the way they work. That's who we're offering this service to, right? Because we haven't been clear enough with that. That's something that's just come across my radar in the last week. So if you're pulling people into this storefront, you're pulling them in from many different channels. You can assume that they've got something in common, despite the fact that they may be coming from a physical advertisement or a Facebook link they clicked, or somebody just referred them to go check this out and they went and Googled it. What do they all have in common? Presumably it's some sort of customer avatar. And maybe the other thing to do is give people the option to opt out early. Make it very clear what you're offering. This is almost cliche now, but you hear, we're offering enhance your productivity of whatever, like just really generic messages that like fit everything. The first thing that we always learn about in sales is to hunt, not fish, sort of thing. Be very targeted, that kind of approach. Or if you're fishing, use very specific bait for whatever particular kind of fish you're trying to catch. I don't know, the analogy can go many different ways, but that's a struggle. It's a struggle for businesses. It's a struggle for us, because we believe that sorry, let me put it this way. If you're selling something and you've put a lot of effort into building it, you believe it's awesome, and you believe that so many people can benefit from it. And it's going to change your lives for the better, right? So many of the things we do nowadays are far more exciting than flimsy blue paper masks, right? But we have to recognize that unless we are able to convey that message, that passion clearly to our prospects, most of the people that we talk to are not a fit for it. They're just not. And probably the biggest factor isn't whether or not they actually need it, but whether or not they actually have the remaining budget in their attention span to even pay attention, to even consume the offer, let alone the product.
That's wonderful.
Very good. Thank you.
Hey, let me put it this way. There's a series on Netflix right now called Love, Death, and Robots. They're little short sci-fi animations, and we just watched the second season there the other night. And the last one was a story about how it was very poetic. Just randomly a giant, like some dude that was probably 300 feet tall, washes up dead on a beach. And there's all this poetic stuff about it. But anyways, the point was, at the end of this little clip, there was a butcher shop. And the butcher shop had picked up like a femur or something from this giant and just stacked this femur as the sign over his butcher shop. I was like, well, I'm going to go into that. If I got a choice between 10 different butcher shops, or even if I'm just randomly walking on the street and I'm totally not even in the market for a butcher shop, holy shit, how did that dinosaur bone get there over top of that butcher shop? It was captivating. How do you differentiate in such a way that even people who could not give two shits about what it is you're doing are still going to go and pay attention? Let me try to say that another way in case you can't use the cuss words or the analogy doesn't really work. How do you make the front veneer, the front window of your storefront so interesting that it simultaneously filters out people who are absolutely never ever going to be interested in what you're selling, but is interesting enough that people who are only, not very interested in what you're selling are still going to go, I need to go check that place out. That is so compelling and so interesting that they deserve 3.5 seconds of my attention. And then how do you then get them to spend another 3.5 seconds, and then maybe another 5 seconds and 10 seconds? How do you constantly keep revalidating and repurchasing your target's attention constantly. Whatever it is that you're trying to market to them, it has to be compelling, and it has to be followed by just an avalanche of more interesting stuff. And, you know, at the same time, it has to penetrate, it has to be there, it has to be accessible. It can't be a wall of text. It can't be a long video. It has to be quick, punching. You have to hook them right off the bat, and you have to keep fighting for that attention, because you don't control the fact that their phone just rang. You don't control the fact that they've got a pop-up notice. You don't control the fact that they've got 25 different tabs open in their web browser, right? Or that they're in a hurry to go do something and they just caught what you did in passing. So you have to find a way, despite the fact that you're in an omni-channel environment, to force people to filter out all the other channels in your storefront experience.